Welcome back to another episode of the 2003 Land Rover Discovery 2.
In today's video, we're going to be working on the interior and the brakes of the Land Rover Discovery 2. The brakes are the last thing that we need to do to finally get this vehicle properly driving on the road, go and get it smogged, and hopefully make sure that it's registered to be road legal. But first, let's start with the interior. As you saw in the first video on this vehicle, there is a lot of work that needs to be done to the interior. From the seats to the roof liner to just cleaning it up in general, there is a lot to do. But before we get too deep into the process of redoing the interior, we just want to make sure it's a nice place to be while we're working. So as you can see here, I'm taking off all of the roof elements that allow us to drop down that roof liner. But while I was doing that, I also realized that I needed to take off the door cards. There's some material that sits right on the door, right where you put your elbow, and over the years, it's just got worn. So it's time for them to get a refresh as well. And I couldn't help myself, I was doing the interior anyway. So as you can see, I start by taking off all of those door cards, which were a little easier than I thought they would be to take off. They just sit on some clips that you have to pry off, making sure that you don't break any of them, which I did break a few, but it will be all right when we put them back on. And then I needed to take off the sun visors. I needed to then take off the overhead storage, as well as the grab handles, so I could take down the first bit of the roof liner before moving further back in the vehicle. And for now, that's all we're gonna have time for on the interior. And for this next part of the video, you can all thank my wonderful girlfriend, Brooke, for the footage. She decided for the next 30 minutes that she was gonna become my cameraman. So thank you, Brooke, so much for helping me out pursuing my dreams. But you can thank her for all of these butt shots.
First, we're going to put it up on some jack stands, take off all the wheels, take the discs off. I'm going to take them over to O'Reilly's so that we can get the brakes resurfaced today. Because in this video, I would also like to make sure that all of the brakes are working. Because right now, only the handbrake works. And I think all we need to do is just we need to bleed and repump the brakes. And then I think we should be good. So let's get to work on that. Okay, we've got a big ugga-dugga. That's what we like to call these. Honestly, it was so hard for me to find the right piece to get these wheels off. For some reason online, it said that they're 18mm sockets. They're actually 27.
So after finally finding the correct socket side for these lug nuts, I was able to use my brand new impact drill and take off all of those lug nuts. That allowed me to then take off the wheels so that I clearly exposed the brake area. And as you can see, they're pretty grimy and extremely rusty, which is no good when you're trying to stop a vehicle.
All right, then one little trick my dad taught me whenever you're doing work where you've got the vehicle elevated like this. Once you take them off, you put it under when you're working on it. If for whatever reason the jack stands fail, then you'll be kept safe because this will be stopping it from falling any further. Let's go ahead. Keeping us safe.
We then had to take off the calipers themselves, which are really simple. They were just on some 12mm bolts that you unscrew and they slide right off the disc. But something that I completely underestimated was the actual bracket that these brake calipers sit on, as you can see right here.
One thing I didn't think about is our bracket for the actual caliper has these special bolts holding it in. If I can find them. Oh, here it is. These, here we go. These ones, these 12-point bolts right here. So I need to go and get a new tool so I can take these brackets off, because we cannot take these calipers off until we take these brackets off right here.
Now, what was weird about this, they were different sizes for the front and the rear brackets. Not only were they different sizes, they were also different measurements. On the front, they were 3/4 12-point bolts, and on the rear, they were 12mm 12-point bolts. What were these Land Rover techs doing? Or am I just stupid as a brand new mechanic?
The next order of business is going to find that 12-point tool.
But finally, after 3 or 4 trips to O'Reilly's, I think they all know me by name at this point, I was able to get all of the right tools that I needed to take off these brackets. That allowed me to finally take off these pilot screws that hold on the discs as they go down the production line, and finally get all of the discs to O'Reilly's for resurfacing. While we were waiting for the discs to get resurfaced, I thought it was time for me to do some research on painting this vehicle, because that is something that I do plan to do. If you watch the very first video on this car, you will know that I'm thinking of paint matching it to my Range Rover in this Velocity Blue. Now, this paint is obviously quite expensive, so I did expect the price to be around about $3,000 to $4,000. So I started off by calling a few of the local paint shops that can paint your vehicle for you. But they were quoting me some crazy numbers. Now, I appreciate the work that was going to go into this. Obviously, I'm doing half of it all of myself, but I just could not bring myself to pay that much money for a simple paint job. So we did the next best thing. Let's see how much the paint is going to cost itself. I was able to get hold of this very helpful paint shop. They answered all of my questions, and they were able to give me a good quote on what I needed to paint this vehicle. And all in, with the paint that I was going to need, it was probably going to cost me $500 to $600 in just paint, which is way better than I ever thought.
Like, I wanted to capture that raw just so that you guys could appreciate like how cool this car community is. Yeah, you just gave me a bunch of advice on like painting my car. Even gave me a business idea. We need to buy a paint booth here in San Diego. Apparently no one is renting them out. It's just such cool stuff that you get to interact with people.
Now, at this point, you might be wondering, Rio, why are you thinking about paint if you're working on the interior and the brakes and this thing barely runs? Well, part of that reason is because if I'm taking the interior apart, it's going to be much easier for me to paint the vehicle around the next few weeks while I'm doing all of this work, rather than waiting until everything is back together and then I have to take it all apart again just to get the car painted. With that being said, I decided to shelve the idea for now and come back to it at a later date. Because of course, our focus right now is just getting this back road legal. And that is officially all we're gonna have time for in today's video. Thanks so much for watching, and please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out and it helps us bring this story of this Land Rover to life even more. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.